Okay, thank you very much for joining. So today we start in a new unit, which is Unit 6, Organizational Data Architecture. So what are we going to learn from this unit? So learners, we're now going to appreciate organizational context of data. So we will cover essentially data architecture and how this is managed through different businesses. So we also look into how data and its analysis will now impact operation and organizations. So again, this is a level 4 qualification. And then our unit grading ranges from pass to merit and distinction. So today, we're now going to look into our first learning outcome, where we're going to understand the principles of organizational data architecture. So we will cover 3 mandatory learning outcomes, and then we have a merit and distinction unit. So presentation there. Let me share my presentation mode. Okay, as we said, today's session, we're going to understand the principle of organizational data architecture. So by the principle, we have to look into few of them, and these principles data governance. So what do we mean by data governance? We're now going to look into the frameworks that ensure that our data is now managed correctly. So we know that data nowadays is everywhere, and it's very easy for people to gain access to them if our data is not safeguarded. So this principle involves defining roles and responsibility for data management and establish policies for data handling. So by having governance in place, we now have the ability to ensure that compliance with regulation, and is now going to help maintaining the integrity of data through its life cycle. Data integration, where we're now going to look into the combination of data from different sources to provide a unified view. So by pulling data from different sources or environment, we now have the ability to integrate each of them. So we also know that this principle is crucial for ensuring that despite data system, this can all work together seamlessly. Data modeling, so we need to have the ability also to process and creating visual representation of data structure within our organization. So this allows us to have conceptual, logical, and physical data models. Storage and management are really important steps where we all know that we need to have a database, a storage, where we have the ability to store all our data, and we also have the ability to manipulate and manage our data through our DBMS, for example. Data quality management, we're now looking into concern which we have to ensure that our data is now accurate, complete, and reliable. So we need to have reliability, we need to have quality when it comes to handling our data. So this principle is now going to involve regular data cleansing process to remove duplicates, correct error, and update outdated information. Again, this concept, which is pretty much important. We need to have data security, so we need to have the ability to protect our database from unauthorized access. With scalability and flexibility, this allows us to grow. Scalability, we know that our business can now grow exponentially, and we can now scale our business maybe from a small to a medium size or to a large corporate. So these principles is going to ensure that our data architecture can handle increasing amount of data without having without crashing. Data lifecycle management. This again, it is important because it involves managing data throughout its life cycle. So from creating and storing and also using our data. Now we're going to look into learning outcome 1, where we're going to explain the importance of data as a business resource. So we know each company from small to medium or large corporate has to have a database, and they have to have the ability to use the resources as an asset. So data also we know has emerged as a crucial resource for business in this modern era. So we can, as we mentioned, this is a traditional asset such as capital and human resource. Also, by having clear data, this allows department and people in the corporate to have clear vision, and by having a clear vision, this improves decision making. So by analyzing the data, business can now identify trends, pattern, and insights that can help them for the strategy and decision making. Operational efficiency. Again, by having clear data, we now have operational efficiency, where we can now leverage all these database to organize and streamline our processes. Also, by having a efficient data resource, this allows us to collect feedback from our customers, and which will allows us to improve our customer experience. By improving our customer experience, this also allows us to be competitive in the market. So now we've grown, we had the ability to scale the business to a point where we can use this as an advantage for us to grow and set goals for the upcoming years. Also, it is important to have risk management, where data is instrumental in identifying and mitigating risk. And this is also important for strategic planning. So when it comes to strategic planning, data can now help businesses to set realistic goals, track performance, and measure process towards strategic objectivities. Also, again, it is important for compliance and governance, where this we're now going to ensure that our data and our resources can now comply with the legal and regulatory requirements. So now we're going to describe the role played by operational and analytical system. So when it comes to operational, we now know that they both play a very important role when it comes to our business. With operational and analytical, we now have the ability to be managing and leveraging data within our organization, and this can serve for different purposes, and also they can be also effective when it comes to functioning on various business departments. When we have to look into our operational system, these are pretty much designed to manage day-to-day activity, and this allows department to work alongside, and they have the ability to, for example, set up the daily meetings or look into the goals that they're trying to achieve for the week. So on. When it comes to finance, the role of operational system when it comes to finance is that we're going to have financial operational system such as ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, which is basically going to manage transitions like account payable, account receivable, payroll, and general ledger entries. Under the human resource operational system allows us to have human resource management system, HRMC, which again is pretty much going to be handling employee records, payroll, benefit administrations, and other tasks such as recruitment processes. Customer service. With this system, we now have the ability to manage interaction within customers, including sales, service requests, and support activities. In senior management and company board, operational system are going to have a high level, and by high level, we're now going to provide our senior management with summarized reports and dashboard that offer high-level insights into various aspects of the business. We have looked into operational system. When it comes to analytical system, these are now designed for a large volume of data. They're going to now identify patterns and support decision-making process. So when it comes to on the financial side of it, with analytical system, such as business intelligence, BI tools, this allows us to analyze financial performance, forecast trends, and identify cost-saving opportunities. When it comes to HR, this allows us to analyze workforce data to identify trends in employee performance, retention, and satisfaction. When it comes to our customers, this is really important for CRM systems, where with our customer service, we can now analyze our customer interaction to identify any new trend in customer behaviors, or maybe also preferences and satisfactions level. analytical system when it comes to our senior management. Is now going to allow us, is now going to provide us with detailed analytical reports and visualization that offer deep insight into business performances. We're now going to describe the importance of a database location. So we all know that databases are everywhere, and every company required to have a solid DBMS. So by having this, they're now going to play a critical role in efficiency, security, and performance of our data management. So the choice of a database location can significantly impact how our data is going to be accessed, processed, and also analyzed. So let's look into examples of different type of databases. So here we do have distributed database, whereby distributed database is a basically system in which data is stored across multiple physical locations, and these can be within the same organization or spread across different geological areas. What are the advantages and disadvantages? So advantages, then now we have reliability and availability, where we know that with this data, we're having this distributed data across multiple locations. They're not going to crash because they are physical server. Scalability, where we know that we can now, by adding more of these devices, these nodes, we can now grow our network. So we can now scale our database network. And also they're good for performance, where we can now have, where data can be stored closer to point of use. What are the challenges that we might have by having distributed database? We now have complexity, where we now be struggling to managing and maintaining our distributed database system. Data synchronization, again, can be one of the challenging side of it, where data will struggle to synchronize across different locations. And security, where protecting data across multiple locations will now require a much more robust security measures. So from distributed databases, now moving into to not get confused, sorry. We do have on-premise solution and outsource solution and a cloud solution. So let's look into the difference of each of them. Whereby having an on-premise solution, this database is going to offer greater control over data security and privacy. Also, we have customization and is also cost-effective, where initial setup can be higher due to the need of hardware, software, and expert ITs. An outsourced solution can be cost efficiency, because we're now going to minimize the cost of setting up our database by using third parties. Also, we now need expertise, where the IT professional is going to organize, and we can now leverage the expertise of specialized providers to manage our database for us. Scalability and flexibility, where this solution can be scaled up or down based on the organization needs. offering flexibility in resource allocation. Now we have cloud computing, where with this cloud solution, we have cloud databases that enable access to data from anywhere around the globe, and is now going to facilitate collaboration among geographically disparate teams. Also, the advantages are scalability, cost efficiency, security, and compliance. So the impact of no location of data sets when performing analysis by having a non-locational of data set, we're now going to refer to the scenario where data required for analysis is stored in different physical locations. So by having we're now going to increase latency, where we're going to retrieve data from multiple locations, which can introduce latency, and we can now, it is also going to slowing down all the process. Performance and bottlenecks, where with the network bandwidth limitation, this can now create bottleneck when transferring large data set across different locations. Complex data integration and consistency issues. So with the complex data integration, this makes it difficult for different environments to communicate with each other. So by combining data from multiple sources, we now require a robust data integration technology. Security and compliance are important because we now know that we have security risk where transferring data across different locations can expose our data to potential cyber attacks, and this is not going to align with compliance. Now we're going to look into our merit activity, where we're going to compare the development effort and benefits achieved by activities undertaken through an ETL process. So ETL, which is extract, transport, load, is now going to be a crucial process, a critical process in data warehousing and also in business intelligence, where we're basically going to enabling organization to consolidate the data from various sources into one single and coherent data repository. So this ETL is going to involve three main stages, where we're going to extract of data from source system, transformation of our data into a suitable format, and loading our transformed data into the target database. So extraction, where we basically going to be mining our data. What we're going to do, we're going to be identifying and understanding the structure of our semantic of our source data system, which can be time consuming. Also, we will need data connectivity, where by establishing connection to various data sources, this is going to include databases, flat files, APIs, and web services. And lastly, we'll also have data volume management. So we're going to obviously extract a large volume of data, and we need to be efficient when handling real-time data. Here we have an example of the benefit of mining our data. We're now going to be consolidating our data access. We're now going to have data quality improvement and historical data capture. Transformation development effort, where we now mine our data, and we have to have the process of cleaning, enrichment, schema mapping, and business logical implementation. So after the extraction, it is important to significant effort required when it comes to clean the data, removing duplicates, correcting any soft error, and filling in missing values. Data enrichment, where we're going to basically transforming our raw data into meaningful information, often involves complex calculation, aggregation, and data enrichment processes. With the schema mapping, we now have in the mapping source data schema to the target schema, and this can be very complex, which will now require a deep understanding of both the source and our target system. With the business logical implementation, we're now going to embed in our business rules and the logic into the transformation process. What are going to be the benefit of our transformation? We now have data consistency and accuracy, enhanced data value, and operational efficiency. Lastly, we now have loading development effort. So once we have extracted and cleaned our data, we're now going to have our data loading strategy, performance optimization, data integrity maintenance. So by loading strategies, we're going to implement in efficient data loading strategy, such as bulk loading, through a vote, incremental loading, and real-time loading. Performance optimization, we're also going to be ensuring that the loading process does not adversely impact the performance on our targeted database. And lastly, with data integrity maintenance, we now loaded our data, and we have to have the ability to maintain our data integrity. Benefit of our loading development effort, we're now going to have centralized data repository, enhanced data accessibility and scalability. Lastly, we have comparative analysis. So we've now extracted and transform and load, where we're basically going to analyze. So extraction phase often involves significant initial effort to understand and connect various data sources. However, once established, it will now require relatively less ongoing effort. While with the transformation phase, this is the most complex and labor-intense, where it's going to involve in data cleansing, enrichment, and schema mapping. And lastly, data loading, which is the phase required for careful strategy and optimization to ensure that we now have efficient data. Okay, so let's look into our distinction task, where we're now going to evaluate the technical design choice usually employed in operational and analytical system. So by evaluation, we're now going to see that operational system and analytical system are both going to serve distinct purpose within our company, and they both have their own technical design choice, which is going to reflect the different requirements. So when it comes to key difference between operational and analytical system, when it comes to operational, we need to know the purpose. We're going to serve our day-to-day business operation. We're now going to look into processing needs, required real-time processing of individual transformation. And the examples that we have is entry system, inventory management, and customer relationship management, CRM systems. The purpose of our analytical system is to support data analysis and business intelligence. The process that we now need is to perform bulk batch processing of large data sets, often within write once read many approach. With bulk batch processing in analytical system, we have operational system that allows us to have data handling, transaction processing, and performance needs. So data handling focuses on processing large volume of data in batches suitable for complex query and analysis. Batch processing, which is suitable for operations that can be tailored, can tolerate high latency, such as data aggregation, summarization, and reporting. Data models, when it comes to operational system, these are going to utilize normalized data model to reduce redundancy. So they're basically going to have normalization, and we're going to break our database into smaller and more organized tables. When it comes to the data model for analytical system, this is going to utilize flat or tabular data models or renormalized schema, such as star or snowflake schema. Here we have a summary of what we've looked into, sort of the aspect and the difference between operational system and analytical system. So this was everything for our first tutorial. Is there any question?
Thanks, Victor. No, not just yet. I'm going to go back over some of the bits later tonight. Then if I have any questions tomorrow, I'll probably ask it in the fourth session that we do.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, so if there's no any question, we can now jump on our learning outcome 2 with the other link. Do you have the link?
I have the link. Yeah, I'll see you over there.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, Victor. Bye.
Bye.